For Black Americans, Barack Obama's presidency held immense potential. Nonetheless, its outcome sparked discussion. Were his policies a disappointment or the product of complex challenges? Investigate the hidden strata. Did he betray, or was it due to structural complexities? Learn some shocking facts. A terrible event took place in Oakland, California. In the early hours of the new year in 2009, only a few short weeks before Barack Obama was to take office as the next president of the United States. Oscar Grant, a black man aged 22, was arrested and lying face down on a public transportation platform when he was shot by a transit police called Johannes Messerly. Grant was not armed at the time of the shooting. Witnesses were taken aback by this event, and many of them recorded the killing on their smartphones. The incident caused the black community to react with tangible fury, which ultimately led to demonstrations and calls for justice. The death of Grant in 2008, which occurred only days before Barack Obama became the nation's first black president, broke the hope that had prevailed throughout Black America that year. The family of Oscar Grant started a grassroots movement around the Bay Area to encourage local prosecutors to charge and try Messerly for Oscar's murder. Protests, marches, college involvement, and public forums were some of the things that helped the campaign gain traction. In the end, the pressure resulted in Messerly being charged with murder, making it the first time in 15 years that a California police officer has been tried for murder for a killing that occurred in the line of duty. This local movement was a precursor to events that would take place in the future, despite the fact that Messerly was found guilty of involuntary manslaughter and served a sentence of less than a year in jail. The shadows of Barack Obama's historic rise to presidency, a tragic event unfolded in Oakland, California. Unarmed and face down on a public platform, 22-year-old Oscar Grant was fatally shot by a transit police. Questions lingered. Why did this happen? How did it impact the community? The incident ignited protests and calls for justice, but did Obama's approach align with expectations? His presidency saw economic struggles and rising tensions, yet his responses to racial disparities were criticized. The cases of Troy Davis and Trayvon Martin further exposed complexities. As the flames of injustice grew, the birth of the Black Lives Matter movement marked a pivotal moment. Was Obama's legacy truly one of change? President Obama's approach during his time in office has taken a different tack than the optimistic stance he took during his campaign. The impacts of the recession were still keenly felt in black neighborhoods when he first took office, and they continued to do so throughout his presidency. As black unemployment rates skyrocketed and economic disparities increased, the tension that existed between the black president and his constituency became increasingly obvious. Many people were dissatisfied with President Obama's answer when civil rights leaders asked him to address the issue of unemployment among black people. He discussed his obligation to all Americans as well as his dedication to policies that benefit the majority of the population. This answer was discouraging, especially considering the great expectations that had followed Obama's presidency from the beginning. Throughout his presidency, Obama struggled with a number of difficult topics, including racial discrimination and structural inequity. Not only was he unsuccessful in leading a movement against police brutality, but he also publicly reprimanded African Americans for a number of other acts. This narrow focus on individual behavior missed the systemic inequalities that were prevalent in the criminal justice system and disproportionately impacted black communities. The case of Troy Davis, who was facing execution in Georgia, despite popular consensus that his conviction was flawed, was a defining moment that exposed President Obama's unwillingness to intercede on behalf of African Americans. Davis was scheduled to be executed in Georgia. The fact that Barack Obama chose to keep mute in the face of widespread protests around the world demonstrated the limits of his power as a black president to effect systemic change. This sudden realization had a role in the development of later social movements, such as the Occupy Wall Street movement. The killing of Trayvon Martin in 2012 represented another turning point, highlighting the continuation of racial profiling and unequal treatment inside the system of criminal justice. As demonstrations began to take place, Obama initially redirected attention away from the situation by characterizing it as a local matter. After a few weeks had passed, he finally acknowledged the tragedy, expressing his sorrow and requesting that investigations be carried out. However, his unwillingness to openly address racial discrimination was a source of disappointment for many people, particularly in light of the striking disparity in the way that white offenders were dealt with. Many people felt that President Obama's letters of solidarity to law enforcement after episodes of violence against police ignored the structural concerns that had spurred the protest. That's it for this video. Subscribe if you want to watch more amazing videos like this.